Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer, and this is Sasha. I spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison. Also got a lot of stories about the crazy stuff that happened while I was in prison. And God forbid you end up in prison, you want to make some of the same mistakes I made. Do not gamble. Rule number 2, do not gamble. It is a huge rule. I've seen somebody literally get paralyzed while I was in there. A young guy, really young guy, got paralyzed over a gambling miscommunication. It is a huge thing. It's also an addiction. Just like I was addicted to dealing, I saw people in prison that were addicted to trying to run a ticket, which is the equivalent of being a dealer, because they're the people that take the bets. And they had thought they were going to get rich quick doing that. But there's certain falls that you have to have in place for when people actually win. Because, a lot of people are going to lose, but some people are going to win, and some people are going to win big. So you have to have the amount of money to pay them off and continue running your business. A lot of the people who ran the tickets had other vices, like using, drinking, this, that, buying that exclusive stuff, player, like the shoes that nobody else had, somebody came with from another compound, paid $400 or $500 for a pair of shoes. But the people who kept enough money and knew enough about it, which was only one particular guy I knew that was really, really good, better than anybody else, that never had any issues. But most people didn't always have the money to pay it out, and they'd have a ticket go bankrupt. So at the medium security, it's an open pod. At the low security, it's a dormitory setting. Hallways, corridors, there's no cameras anywhere. So the ticket man makes tickets daily. So how he has that is he has somebody that's called a runner. The runner goes to education. In education, they have a copy machine. You have to get a copy card from commissary to make the copies of these tickets. A copy card costs about $5, has 50 copies on it. They only let you spend so much money at commissary a month, like $300. I'd always hit my limit, but you could always buy copy cards. That didn't come off your spending limit. So I would buy copy cards and I would sell them to the ticket men for money to just spend. So I got to know a few ticket men from that because they knew they could buy copy cards off me. And basically, they have to go to education. They have to get these tickets printed in secret. On one page, they'll have about 9 tickets. Each ticket's about the size of a receipt. And they'll print it out, they'll cut it up, and they'll pass them out. Where it's a dormitory setting, cubicle setting, 0 cameras anywhere, the ticket men will just walk in people's rooms, which that would never happen at the medium. You never walk in somebody's room and just put a ticket on their bed. Which that's gambling paraphernalia. It could get people in trouble, but still people are that reckless with it. And on this ticket have a number of sports, any type of sport, basketball, football, soccer, even the Kentucky Derby. They don't know nothing about no horses. They don't know nothing about that. They just want something to gamble on. Okay? So, Khabib Nurmagomedov is one of the best fighters of all time, UFC fighters. He has a promotion now, his own fighting promotion. He won't take sponsors from gambling places. He gave a speech about it the other day, and I thought it was really an incredible speech. He said that he thought gambling was more harmful, possibly, than drugs and alcohol is to people. He doesn't believe in that either, Islamic faith and all that, but he said no. He says, I have other good sponsors. I don't believe in that. He says it tears whole families apart. And I believe it. I could see it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, there's 2 stories here. The first guy, he ended up moving into the 4-man across from me. Now, like I said, it's a dormitory setting. I'm in a 2-man room with 7-foot-high cubicles. The 4th-man room across from me had 4-foot-high cubicles. I work with those guys in that room, 3 of those guys. They worked at maintenance, so they get a new roommate. Of course, I'm going to end up getting to know him, be friends with him too, because he's hanging out with them. He was from North Carolina, bald-headed white dude with one of those goatees that go down way long. And, looked the part of a convict. He'd stay up all night in the main open TV room studying sports books. And when I first got there, he was winning. He was hitting these tickets. He was hitting these tickets for a lot. He was making like as much as $1,000 off certain bets. See, some people put $1 on it. If they win, they might win as much as $10 or $20. But some people put $20, $30 on a ticket. And if it's like, one of those big ones, I don't know a whole lot about it, but if they pick 8 games correctly, which that's pretty tough to guess the winner of 8 games. And, if any one of them loses, you lose. But if you win all 8, then it can be like astronomical numbers, like over $1,000 that people can win. And that's what he was doing. And he was winning. He bankrupted a few ticket men. And he was good at it. And there are some people that are good at it. And even professional gamblers have to have a certain amount of money that they expect they could lose. Now, eventually, of course, as you might imagine, it took a while. It took about 4 or 5 months. He's hitting here, losing that. He's winning for the most part. He gets on a losing streak. And in order to try to make up for his losing streak, he starts betting big. He starts betting bigger and bigger, thinking the next one's going to be the one that turns my luck around. And he gets into debt with multiple ticket men. He owes one over $1,200, owes another one $500 or $600, and that's just in my building. He probably has bets in other buildings too. I hear him on the phone. Talking to his wife at one point, to his mom at another point, and he is cussing them out, talking about how when he was on the street doing his thing, he was feeding them, supplying them, and they couldn't pay this debt for him. If they paid the debt, he would have got back into debt trying to hit all over again. But he spent time cussing his family out, which was hard to hear him passing. But see, I spent a lot of time on the computer, downloading songs on the MP3. Yeah, they got MP3 players in prison with an iTunes type setup. I'd be sampling songs, figuring out which ones I was going to get that day, send an email to family, and sitting there doing that. If somebody's loud on the phone, you're going to hear them. You try not to listen, but if somebody's loud and cussing at their family, you're going to hear what they say. And it was hard to listen to somebody talk to their family, mom and their wife that way. It's really hard to sit there and listen to. Another thing, too, when I'm sitting there listening to music, I never had both headphones on. I had one in one ear, one over the other ear. You always got to hear what's going on. I never walked around with both headphones in my ear unless it was for a deadlift, and I'd have both in, blasting as loud as I could, and even then, as soon as I finished, I'd take the one and hang it over the ear so you can hear what's going on. It's important you know what's going on around you. And, so that's just a weird little habit I figured I'd mention. Now, this is Petersburg Low. It's a low security. He ends up checking in, and he's like, yeah, I got to get out of this place, blah, 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 this, and that. He goes and he checks into the hole so they can send him to another prison. Made some excuse. Everybody knew why he got checked in. At the next place, if anybody finds out he checked in, checking in is like an act of cowardice. It's like the lowest of the low, and especially for debts. If you get in debts and you check in so you don't have to pay the debts, that's something that follows you. It's a reputation. It's a bad thing to follow you. Some people get told check in or you're going to get beat up and get taken out of here. And, although it never happened to me, I started at Petersburg. I ended at Petersburg. 6 months at the low security, 3 months in the hole, 2 years at the medium, then finished out at the low. But certain people that did, I can't completely blame them. Because, like, say the Pisces told you to check in and you didn't check in. They're going to send 5 people on you, 5 on 1. And, of course, by prison rules, you're supposed to fall on the sword, go out like that. But from some of the stuff that I saw happen, I couldn't blame some of the people that did when certain groups, especially the Pisces, if they told you it's time to go, you better, start something or get put. You better get out of there one way or another. I guess one way just be to start a fight with somebody, get put in the hole and get shipped that way. But you have to, if they told somebody to go, man, it ended up bad. But this is at Petersburg Low. Nothing like that happened there. Just fist fight, stuff like that. So he ends up checking in. Now, the second time was when I got back to the low security from the medium. At that time, UFC was a big thing. I got a few guys to put on the Ultimate Fighter, Team McGregor versus Team Faber, and Conor McGregor's coaching, and he's all over SportsCenter, so everybody wants to watch because Conor McGregor's talking all that trash and everybody loving him. Ryan Hall won that season. Jiu-Jitsu Wizard, it's his nickname, the Wizard. He does not look like a fighter. He blinks a lot. He has Tourette's. He doesn't have a fighter's build, but he is a jiu-jitsu tactician. He do this, it's called an Imanari roll. It's like a back roll, lands on your leg, and heel hook people, and he was just beating people left and right. Won the whole season. I've got to train with him since I've been at it. A couple seminars. Some people said I'd get out and do the same stuff. My buddy Pinto, I'd send him pictures of me with these people to show those people, to hear their reaction. He was just as happy to hear it as I was. But so ultimately, they put, like I said, they'll gamble on anything. But since people are starting to watch UFC, and when I say UFC, it's mostly UFC. It's not other MMA organizations. It's pretty much exclusively UFC, occasionally Bellator. But anyway, they put it on a ticket. So they put it on a ticket. It's a new thing on a ticket. It's the very first day they've ever put it on a ticket. And I don't gamble. It makes me sick to my stomach. I don't get the rush. I don't get the feeling. I don't get the whatever people get. I don't get that. I get sick to my stomach. I bet a guy who had a brain injury $1 candy bar when I was in jail, and my silly told me, you should take it. You're for sure going to win. And even the guy said, well, I know they're probably going to lose, but, gamble's something to do. And I agreed to do it. The whole game, I'm sitting there watching it, which I don't even watch. I just watch, combat sports arts. I don't watch that stuff. So I'm watching something I don't care to watch. And I was stressed the whole time. I won. But the whole time I'm thinking I could have done something else with that candy bar. So I'm not big on it. So people come to me to get picks for it. 3 people specifically. And I give them the picks. They're like, what do you think about that? And I say, tell them my best educated guess. Every one of them won. One of them had a pick 8. He ended up winning like $600-700. Hit me back with like $100 for giving him the picks. And ultimately, I pretty much bankrupted one of the ticket men in my building. Didn't mean to do it. It wasn't my intention. People were just coming to me with picks. I don't know anything about that. But I got every one of them right. It was a pretty lopsided card, the one that I was guessing on, so it's pretty easy. It was a little bit of luck too, but just like that guy would study his gambling books, I had a UFC encyclopedia. I'd study everything but every fighter. And, I knew how I spent my time. Made my time go by easier. I wanted to train when I got out. It was something to look forward to, for one day. Now, even though I don't gamble, I did one time. It was Khabib, who I mentioned earlier, versus Michael Johnson. There were a lot of people that were talking about that fight coming up, and he was starting to get a little name for himself, but Michael Johnson was more known. Khabib was slow to rise because he was a grappler. He wasn't as flashy and as exciting. But I bet a few people on that one. I made a good handful of money on that. It was brutal. It's one of the most brutal fights you've ever seen. Michael Johnson he caught him one time real hard, and I was like, uh-oh, is the unthinkable going to happen? But then, for the rest of the fight, he just pitifully and mercilessly just smashed him. He's on top of him, talking trash to him, saying, you need to give up. I must be champion. You don't agree? Pop! Again and again. And so ultimately, that was one of the only times that I can ever remember gambling. And even then, I still got sick in my stomach doing it. But it's something that I saw a number of people, a number of fights. I saw somebody get paralyzed from the waist down from it. It's something that I just don't understand. Like the fact that casinos have places where you can go and get something to put your house up for collateral. It's some bad stuff, man. It's some crazy bad stuff. It can lead to some bad things, and it's a mental addiction like no other that can't be broken. That guy who transferred to another prison, you bet he's gambling, doing the same thing at the next spot. And I saw that with a number of people, and it's sad, it sucks, but it's what it is. Anyway, if you liked the video, thank Iron, press the like button. If not, wasted 14 minutes and 45 seconds of your time. Got home a little bit late today, doing this last second. I'm most likely going to have another one out tonight. So had to get something out pretty quick, so that was something I you know, just spur of the moment. Figured I'd talk about something I thought about a little bit. Got another one. Should be up tonight, probably by 9 o'clock. So, you know, this was last second. Had to get it together. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. Y'all have a good one.